Welcome, everybody. We at STL are celebrating 25 years in our journey of making optical fiber. And as part of our celebrations, it's our privilege to talk to the Gede Dharmayusa, who's the CTO of XL Axiata, which is one of Indonesia's leaders in the telecom space. So, Pak Gede, welcome, and it's a pleasure to be talking to you. So we would like to understand where the world has been moving in the recent years. This year has been one of considerable upheaval with the coronavirus outbreak, which has created all kinds of effects on in the world, including a strain on the telecom network. So I'm just curious to understand what the impact has been on XL, how you're adapting to your customer requirements that has changed in this time.
Thank you, Jitu. Thank you for the opportunity. Firstly, I wish you Starlight a very happy New Year for the 25 years. It's quite almost the same age as XL Axiata.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, this pandemic is basically giving us really a headache in the beginning. And in this crisis, I also feel that a lot of things that we've been doing so far is been challenged by the situation, right? Are we doing the plan good enough? Are we implementing good enough? Because for the last 5 or 7 years, when we start to modernize our operation, at that time we tried to set up what we call a crisis management team, right? So time flies and we actually never know when it's going to happen that we actually need the crisis management team, yeah? So this year it's being a drill, yeah. It's not a fire drill. This is a real drill. That's when we built the crisis management team, we're not sure that we need it or we don't need it because it looked like we overreacting or we over prepare. But this year we feel that a crisis management team is really needed and it's really important to guide not only the business but also because it's impacting the employee, the family, and so on and so forth. So when we have this pandemic, our management split the decision. That's a normal BIU management and the crisis management in day-to-day work. So basically, we try to cope with all things that happening suddenly change. Now, if we're talking about network, in the beginning of work from home, study from home, we can see the traffic is really increased a lot, yeah? Normally, it's 1% daily. Now, it's like 2 to 3% daily. So how we cope with that? At the same time, we also feel that the capacity that we provide suddenly is not enough because normally we just plan for the central business district. Now suddenly all the traffic moved to the residential area where our infra basically is not enough, yeah? All the fiber and LTE high capacity, latest RRU, latest equipment has been deployed in the central business district. We connect all the offices, all the building with fiber, and then put the site it's covering houses as second priority, last year, But that's making even harder because suddenly all moved to residential. But good thing is we start doing fiberization for the last 2 or 3 years. Yeah, it's a very long journey. It's a very hard journey because upgrading radio is easy. Upgrading transport is mid to long term journey. So, but good thing is we already start doing that. It's not only talking about backbone, intercity, inter-data center, but also going directly to the site. Yeah. At the same time, it's also very fortunate for us that for the last 2 years we also built our XL FTTH, which are becoming a star now, yeah, because their penetration rate is keep increasing and revenue, of course, but we still have a very small scale, but growing is very promising. So that's one of the strategy from XL Axiata that actually paid well. But in terms of mobile business, I can say that we really focusing on how to serve the customer better now. We understand that the government is really emphasizing every time that online education is something that they cannot be neglected and need to be a priority from government and also from all of us, from operator. We have a social responsibility for that. So to balance this out is really tough, it's really challenging. But at the same time, we cannot go to the office, we cannot work harder together, coordinate. So the challenge is not only serving our customer, but also how to consolidate our resources. At the same time, we also need to take care of our family. So, that's
Right.
That's something that is never been happened before, but good things from XL. I can say that as management, we are adapting very fast. We even can speed up in some places because now the demand is high. But of course, fiber is now still challenging. Because you are a fiber company, that's why I say that fiber is first priority. Even if we not expanding our radio, our fiber still need to be there, because next year when we have more capacity, we have maybe more spectrum, definitely we cannot afford to just use microwave. So fiber is one priority that we still need to go, even though we shifting our priority to residential. That also means that fiber to residential area is very important. That's what we keep doing now. That's what we try to rebase our plan, to put a transport first and then we expand radio later. So that's what I can say again.
So from the rollout plans, you're talking about fiber being something that you are investing in, trying to push it out to actually increase your capacities. Is it changing your network topology? Is it changing any of the plans that you're seeing in terms of how you need to deploy your networks? Is it going to be further pushing out towards the edge? Is it more on the axis? I'm just curious to know how that's affecting XL's plans.
Yes, we are expanding the data center to the edge, right? As part of our long-term strategy. Core. And at the same time, we also the core, the fiber together to increase the capacity and also for resiliency, right? And for protection. We understand that building data center or core site, our EPC is easy. Yeah, we have so many site in the region or in the rural that can be converted to a small data center. But connecting that to fiber is not as simple as building the sites. So we try to balance this out. Yeah, we try to balance this out. In the past, we have only like 3 sites as a main data center. Now, last year we expanded it to 5 to 7 data center. Today we have around 11 data center, which is in the smaller size. At the same time, we need to slow down this a bit because suddenly in the middle we realized that we don't have enough infrastructure, the reliable infrastructure to support that, to bring the traffic back to the internet. So fiber optic is still the challenge. Yeah, we tried as much as possible build our own, which are really consume our capex a lot. And at the same time, we assess a partnership with the third party. We ran a core, or if not, we cannot get the core. In the worst case, we get the capacity. Yeah. So that's basically our priority now. We build our own if we have capex. Second is we lease the core, the dark fiber, and then the third one is the capacity. So which one is basically giving us more benefit? We assess. But number one is we need to have our own core, so we have a flexibility when we want to expand it in the future.
I'm just curious, about the landscape in Indonesia. One of the challenges that we have, for example, in deploying optical fiber in India are things like the right-of-way issues of like how fiber is regulated or not regulated like a utility, and what the challenges are in actually densifying networks because we face something along those lines. I'd just like to learn a little bit from you about what the equivalent situation is in Indonesia when you're deploying fiber, when you're getting away from the access networks more towards the FTTH and so on and so forth. What are the challenges that you typically face over there, or what are some of the things?
India and Indonesia almost have the same geographical area. Yeah, when talking about city, if you see Jakarta street now is getting better because government start to get rid of fiber to make it look more tidy or more nicer. But at the same time, we have challenge because we still have to connect a few sites or some site in Jakarta with fiber, which now the permit is not being granted. Yeah, in one of the second biggest city like Surabaya, for instance, we don't have any permit now to lay new fiber because they see fiber is really making the city look bad. You know, we don't even talking about putting this as a utility, but they now perceive fiber is really make a mess in the city. Yeah, so this is something that's a challenge in this big city like Jakarta, Bandung, and Surabaya, where the fiber is already needed most because of the capacity, because later all the 5G city, if it's coming, is this city. Yeah. But at the same time, we have challenge on laying a fiber as a prerequisite of 5G. So in between, we need to find a solution together with government because government is the regulatory that can say yes or no. Sometimes it cannot be negotiated. So we need to really sell the idea that fiber is for the people and for the community and for the city. So therefore, government need to facilitate, not take a tip of any fiber that we put. So that's a challenge. And outside the area, outside the city, even it's also have a special challenge. Why? Because in the government body, if we want to apply permit, now almost like 11 permit need to be get. 11 permit for one span of fiber. So all the government need to put signature on it. All the government body. Every 2 months we get the increase in data, but to build the fiber in average is like 1 year. That's the challenge. Like permit is very important. That's still a challenge now. For the existing fiber, even though we have permit, sometimes government, if we want to extend the road, they want to build other utility, power, water, they just can dig and cut our fiber without any information. So that's challenge because it's not regulated. Even though we have a permit, it's very challenging, So that need to be changed, need to be, our communication with government through our association is we keep raising this concern, and hopefully at the end of the day, I think even with this pandemic, we should take some positive impact that government or people now start realizing that how important is the internet, how important is the reliability of the network. So we can push this back. We can push this back. So regulatory or government start seeing this as a pain point from operator to provide reliable network to the people.
One question that we have is one of the emerging trends that we see in the world is basically the deployment of high density cables, where you have ribbonized cables, which are some of them are rollable ribbons or traditional ribbons, trying to fit a lot more fiber into a certain footprint, which addresses some issues of the capacity right-of-way trade-off that you're talking about over here. I'm just interested in understanding how you are thinking about some of these technologies, which are just starting to roll out across the world in various geographies like Europe, the Middle East, Southeast Asia as well, in terms of high fiber count ribbonized cables.
I think that's a good opportunity to assess. But of course, CapEx and OpEx need to be balanced, right?
With the coming of 5G, what your preparations are. So I was just curious as to whether you're exploring technologies like Open RAN for 5G and where you see that going in the future.
We assessing for 5G, I think it's still 2 or 3 years from now in Indonesia. The biggest challenge is we don't have spectrum, the ideal spectrum for 5G. Even though we get the information from government, I think it will take some time because it's still being held by a satellite corporation, right? But again, whatever we're doing now is part of a journey toward 5G. So we don't want to be left behind, because 5G is all about fiber. So when we're talking about Open RAN, yes, we are doing POC for Open RAN because again, even though 5G is still 2 or 3 years from now, but we can use this Open RAN for LTE, for 4G. And if it's really like what they promised to bring the OpEx down, bring the CapEx down, as a TCO is much, much lower compared to existing vendor, we are assessing that, because again, telco world now as a company like XL to become very efficient in cost is always the main objective, And for fiber, for the end side, I say that's only like 2 fiber to core that. But for the backbone, that's basically we try as much as possible to bring the fiber to the site. We convert the FTTH fiber with what we have in mobile. And at the same time, we also have enterprise customer who want to be fiberized. We do all.
With the current COVID pandemic disrupting a lot of our data communications, you're probably seeing an increase in traffic like everybody else. We would like to know a little bit more about whether you think it's a sustainable trend, whether the increase in traffic is something temporary. We'd just like to know where you see that in terms of the traffic in the network.
I think the 2% or 3% growth is only happened like the first 2 or 3 weeks. Now it's flattening. Now even last month is bit declining after the Lebaran or Idul Fitri. And in July, normally it start increasing as a trend. So it's not sustained. The growth is not sustained. But in total, if we compare year on year, if we in normal year like 2019, year on year traffic growth is like 40%. What we predict this year is around 55 to 60%. So like 15 to 20% increase from normal growth.
Spending the time with us. It's been an absolute pleasure discussing the state of businesses in Indonesia, how we've been working together, how we can continue to work together. It's a privilege. Thank you so much for being with us.
Terima kasih.